This morning I went down the street to go to this class. It's basically 45 minutes of body circuits in a heated room, which I love. I love mixing that in with the running that I do. And basically the thing kicks off. And somewhere in, maybe the last third of the class, we were doing some weighted squats. And right at that point where, you're in the thick of things, your legs start to burn, heart rate's elevated, you can start to really feel the temperature of the room. The instructor said something that I thought was absolutely incredible. She goes, and I'm paraphrasing, the discomfort that you feel right now is a privilege. It's a privilege to suffer through this. It's a privilege to be here working on yourself when most people are at home. It's a privilege to be in a position to move through the resistance you feel right now. And that message moved me. And how can you even think about discomfort after that perspective had been laid out? How can you see a few minutes of fatigue as anything other than the small price of improvement? It's funny how the same things we consider to be torture or punishment, if they're externally required of us, they become empowering when we know that we deliberately chose them. And this feeling, it was definitely self-induced. It was chosen, right? I decided to be there in class that day. It was what I needed to become just a little bit better, to obtain just a little bit more. And what a privilege. I've learned over the years to manage pain. You have to. You have to immerse yourself in an often less than ideal short term so that you can bring about results of greater magnitude. I've always accepted this. I've always known it to be true. I believe, in my own world, I've sacrificed accordingly. But I don't recall the last time I was overtly thankful for the obstacles in my way. I don't remember the last time I saw my struggle not as a necessary burden, but a gift. As something not thrown at me, but presented to me. Think for a second about the finitude of life. The 1 in 400 trillion odds of being born. A number that I came across somewhere that I certainly can't validate, but I don't think you need to get the point, right? The odds of being here are incredibly slim. Yet somehow we won. We all received winning lottery tickets. Here we are, on a strange planet with options to choose from, paths to decide between, and a giant ticking clock. And given these circumstances, aren't we doing a disservice to ourselves to not at least see what we're capable of? What we can do, build, create, and become? I certainly think so. And what is the cost of that evolution? It's discomfort. It's forging our future by walking through fire. It means intentional hardship. And to not see that as the gateway to life's infinite opportunity is missing the mark. Why shouldn't you feel lucky about yourself transforming in real time? Why shouldn't you feel proud of paying a steeper price for a better view? Why shouldn't you be delighted to unpack the mystery and the adventure contained in life? This isn't something you have to do on your way to point B. This is something you get to do on your journey to become whoever you choose to become. So when the pressures of life press down upon us, test us, perhaps solely acknowledging its utility is insufficient. Maybe it's more. Maybe it's something that should be celebrated, adored. Today was a reminder to be thankful for the body that can endure the turbulence, thankful for the mind that can manage and overcome the chaos. Thankful for the opportunity to be here to begin with and the freedom to choose the difficult thing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to live in such a way that as I place my head on the pillow each and every night, I'm grateful for the privilege. Fear is an integral part of life. It's a natural reaction to be afraid of something that we believe to be dangerous. In specific situations, it keeps us from harm, right? We don't put our hand near a flame for fear of being burned, and that's a good thing. That's its biological intent. It's part of the reason our species was able to evolve and flourish. But just as it helps us, it can be our biggest obstacle. It becomes easy to see everything as that flame that will burn our hand. We fence ourselves in, we create a comfort zone because a comfort zone is safe. And because of this, we miss out on some of life's greatest opportunities. Most things worth having live outside of our comfort zone, on the other side of fear. Everyone deals with being afraid. It's who we are. The difference lies in how we handle it. Quoting Peter McWilliams, he says there are two types of people. People who experience fear while trying to grow themselves and expand their comfort zone, and people who feel fear just thinking about expanding their comfort zone, never acting because they're scared of the unknown. It's the exact same fear that is felt by both types of people, those who act and those who hide. The difference is that one grows and one doesn't. One creates a life of adventure, of passion, the other a life of regret. It's funny because you start to hear these things so much that they come across as cliche, right? Fear is the great barrier. How many times have we heard that? But when was the last time you woke up and did something about it? Made an effort to do exactly what you're afraid of. Put yourself on the front line. Put yourself out there. These are the experiences that shape our character, where we prove to ourselves that, hey, maybe it's not so bad. Realistically, the worst that could happen is that you don't meet expectation. It's that you fall on your face. In which case you pick up your pride, you look yourself in the mirror, and you get ready for round two. Because round two means you come back more prepared, knowing what to expect. That's why it's been said that even if you fall on your face, at least you're moving forward. Eventually you'll adapt. This new challenge will become part of you. It becomes okay. It becomes comfortable. And look, just like that, you've expanded your comfort zone. Now you can move on to the next chapter. So remember, the people you admire, the people who have done great things, lit the path for us. It's not that they weren't afraid, it's that they used their fear as a tool for growth, not a crutch. It's part of the reason we have such awe and fascination with the great minds of history. Imagine Neil Armstrong looking back one last time before stepping into the spacecraft that would take human beings to the moon for the first time. Jackie Robinson suiting up for his first game with the Dodgers. The American colonists signing the Declaration of Independence. We don't think about it often, But just imagine if these people gave into the fear they must have felt overcoming these obstacles. What would we have? How different would life be? So my ask of you is that you find a way. You find a way to get to the other side of fear, because that's where dreams become reality. It's where your world can change if you just allow it to. One thing I've become much more intentional about over the years as a runner and an endurance athlete is hydration. Not just drinking more water, but actually replacing the electrolytes you lose through training, long hikes, travel, or even spending time outside in South Florida and now Arizona where I live. That's why I use Element. It's a no-brainer. It's a zero-sugar electrolyte drink mix with a meaningful amount of sodium, along with potassium and magnesium to help support hydration without all that sugar and junk that's in most sports drinks that are available to us. So when I'm running, I'm hiking, I take the powder packs with me. If it's after a workout, my go-to is one of their cold, already prepared cans. Like I've talked about on the show before, I've noticed 100% that when I stay on top of my electrolytes, I have more consistent energy, fewer headaches. I simply feel better during my long distance training sessions and recovery. So whether you're lifting, running, fasting, eating low carb, or you're just someone who sweats a lot, Element is an easy addition to your routine. If you order now, you can get a free 8-count sample pack with any purchase. It's a great way to test all their most popular flavors, figure out which one's your favorite. Just head to Drink Element, that's drinklmnt.com/Eddie to claim that offer. And if you don't love it, it's no problem. Element has a no questions asked refund policy, so there's really no risk or downside to giving it a try. Quite some time has gone by since the last letter I wrote to my younger self. A few years, actually. And I think we're due. Because older me continues to learn to both enjoy and be humbled by life. To experience hellos and endure goodbyes. To win and to lose, to acquire and to cut away. The world is a maze of complexity to navigate. And maybe we should start right there. Because look, kid, there are some fundamental ideas about life that you just have wrong. There is no door that you walk through where you suddenly go from not understanding to finally having all the answers. Part of growing up is realizing how little human beings know about anything. And that's okay. What you'll understand is it's not a reason to run, it's a source of courage to draw from. Oh, but adults are wise, you might think. No, adults are just children with mortgages. You'll learn that, and as we all become renters, even that's changing, right? Oh, but him over there, or her, wait, them, they have it all figured out. No, they just walk with conviction into their individual unknowns. That's all. Oh, but there has to be some certainty. We have to know some things for sure, you might think. Well, certainly we do, or at least we think we do, but you have to understand, 150 years ago, science said bleeding someone out would cure them of their illness, right? Our pursuit of truth is crucial, but it's a work in progress. Life is a work in progress. You are a work in progress. So what am I talking about? Why does this matter? Because I don't want you to think that you are ill-prepared to venture further into your potential. I don't want you to think that other people have what you don't, that you're not enough. The world around you is chaos. It's a mess. It's clay. Some people use it to build and create and shape their reality, and others, well, others don't. The kicker here is that nothing is built if you don't first give yourself permission to take the unknowns and make something with them. Once you understand that there is no secret code that must be figured out, you free yourself to explore and capture the essence of being alive. Again, life is messy. So go flail around, wander, go get lost. Who cares? You see what I'm saying? You can watch from afar, succumbing to the illusion that the world is some meticulously constructed orchestra where everything's playing in unison. Or you can dive in and make your own music, dance to your own melodies, because there is no perfect. There are people who stand still and people who pick up the pieces as they go. Next, and very closely related, younger me, give yourself a chance. Try things. No, more things, bigger things, terrifying things. You see those posters of people you have hung up on your wall? They're not of a different world. They're people like you. Right? But they decided along the way that they would try. That they would step out of line, break some rules, push life, and see how hard life pushed back. Younger me, on my college essay, I referenced one of my favorite quotes. I attributed it to Mark Twain. Turns out it wasn't even by him, but hey, life goes on, right? It said, 20 years from now, you'll be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than the ones you did do. So throw off the bow lines. Sail away from the safe harbor. Catch the trade winds in your sails. Explore, dream, discover. It's a beautiful quote, and here's what I gather from it. The biggest mistakes I've made over the course of my lifetime ended up being my greatest teachers, leading me to something new, to where I most needed to be. I mean, a lot of my mistakes are even funny stories, right? That I joke about with buddies over a beer. The vast majority of things you're worried about, they either won't happen or they're reversible. But what gets you, younger me, what truly hurts, is wishing you had the courage to apply to that thing that you instead let the deadline slip away. Or talk to that person you walked right by, or audition, or train, or travel, or follow your intuition, your heart to someplace new. Those are the things we tend to carry around. The second you learn that not going is far scarier than stepping out into the unknown, you'll possess a perspective that's incredibly valuable. It will change your life. And lastly, this one's kind of hard to articulate, but let me tell you, it continues to resurface. Here it is. If your intuition is telling you something, listen. Trust it. If something feels wrong, let it go. If it feels like it's where you need to be, you're being pulled in that direction, explore, move towards it. When you know in 30 seconds that someone isn't a good person, don't give them your time. When something doesn't align with your goals or objectives, don't feel bad walking away. When something excites you, trust that feeling. This is all intuition, and I've come to find that initial response to be more and more valuable. What that feeling is telling you matters. Don't turn your back on that. Now, of course, there's a line we have to walk, or an element of pragmatism we have to hold on to. Sometimes, when we're particularly upset, it makes sense to let the emotions subside and allow rationality to enter. But this is more about being aware of who you are and what you want, right? Don't talk yourself out of what you know you want and into what you know you don't. Life gives clues. It's not always 4D chess. Sometimes it can be simple. What's needed is right there. But you have to look around. You have to listen and trust yourself, and no one will ever know you better than you. But if you tune yourself out, then how can you have a shot at living a meaningful life? One on your own terms? Be impossible. So younger me, trust yourself. Beyond what anyone else tells you is best or most beneficial, again, those are answers only you know. So listen to you. One of my favorite messages is that you are your own experiment. That as we move forward into the haze of the unknown, we understand that at times we'll fall. At times we'll see our plans disintegrate right in front of us. But this is, when we step back and really examine, not a cause for alarm, but a chance to celebrate. Celebrate because the world pushing back at you implies that you are moving forward. And that is strength. As the saying goes, in the broken places, the light shines through. Younger me, promise me you won't be scared of breaking. That you won't fear leaving the harbor. Because nothing out there is bigger than you, or too much for you to handle or navigate. The funny thing is, younger me, that your journey is reliant on you giving yourself permission to go, to see, to explore. All that starts with you greenlighting your own adventure. But remember what I'm telling you. There is no rubric for life, it's trial and error. Remember that if you don't give yourself a chance, you simply watch the opportunity slip by. And remember that you are the only one who knows what's best for you. So trust that intuition. The world will be whatever you choose to make it. And my hope is that you realize you are strong enough. You're bold enough. You're capable enough to make it whatever that might be. So younger me, go pave your path. Go blaze your trail. And remember along the way, as you navigate the ups and downs, highs and lows, remember to look up and enjoy the ride. If there's one thing I've never been great about, that's skincare. I'm outside all the time, I'm running, I'm hiking, I'm rucking, spending so much time taking care of my body that I forget that my skin is a part of it. That's why I've partnered with and been using OneSkin. Their daily lotion has an anti-aging peptide that targets fine lines, dullness, and loss of firmness. And again, with how much time I spend outside, that really matters. Apparently, sun exposure is responsible for up to 80% of visible skin aging, and my skin just feels better and healthier, more hydrated than it used to. It's become a quick, easy part of my daily routine. I use it right before I head out the door. It's also been backed by 4 peer-reviewed clinical studies. It has more than 10,000 5-star reviews, and it's recognized by Bloomberg as a leader in skin longevity. For a limited time, you can get 15% off with my code EDDIE at oneskin.co/Eddie. Again, that's 15% off at oneskin.co/Eddie. Back to the show. The saddest words in life aren't, "I failed." The saddest words in life are, "I wonder what would have happened if I tried." Imagine that after your final day on Earth, before whatever comes next, right? You're invited to walk through a museum. And it's this giant building, marble floors, high ceilings, silent halls. At first, it's all familiar. You begin reading the plaques, and you start to recognize, wait a minute, that was a business that I never started. It was an idea that I spent some time thinking about. Continue down the hall, you see a book that was never written. On stories that you thought would be cool if they got out to the world, but never quite got to the forefront of your priorities. A giant mural showing a relationship that was never pursued. An exhibit with a city that was never moved to. A conversation that was never had. An apology that was never given. Exhibit after exhibit after exhibit, a version of yourself that never existed. And every exhibit carried the exact same title. Quote, almost. You keep walking, room after room, hall after hall, almost, 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 almost. You recognize the faces. They're your faces, but different versions of you, different timelines and possibilities. Not fantasies necessarily, not impossible dreams, things that surely could have happened. Things that wanted to happen. They sat on the edge of your life for years whispering. But fear and comfort and the need for certainty, they all whispered just a little louder. And suddenly you realize this isn't a museum, this is evidence. This is evidence of every invitation life extended that you declined. Evidence that was impossible to grasp on earth. But nevertheless, evidence that existed all along. And this thought experiment weighs heavy. This is where it gets personal. When I think about the museum, I don't think about YouTube necessarily, or speaking. I don't think about the things that worked. I think about the things that pushed me way outside my comfort zone. Things now on the periphery of normal, on the fringes of life. One being my apparel company, AGNS. Always grateful, never satisfied. Because if I'm being honest, there are easier businesses. Far easier. Businesses with better margins, less inventory, less complexity, less risk. There's a million roads that would have made more sense on paper. But every time I tried to walk away from that idea, the idea of building a brand and apparel around it, a community of people that believe in something and want to rep that idea, something just pulls me back. Not because it's logical, it doesn't have to be, but because it means something. Because it represents something. Because every design, every message is another way of expressing what I and the people in my circle believe. Sometimes I ask myself, what happens if I don't do this? Not if it fails, but what happens if I don't do it? What happens if I choose a safer route or a more practical, predictable route? Immediately, my mind goes back to that museum. I see an exhibit behind glass, a brand that could have existed, that could have changed things or stood for something. A community that could have formed, people that could have connected, lives that could have been impacted. And that plaque underneath that says, almost. That scares me more than failure, and it should scare you more than failure as well. Failure's part of the ride. But becoming a spectator to my own potential, watching something meaningful remain trapped in possibility, that's terrifying. Now expand this museum, right? First lesson is obvious. Look at the things you've been avoiding, the business, the book, the call, the move, the dream. The thing that keeps tapping you on that shoulder. Stop pretending you don't see it, because one day you may have to walk past it hanging on a wall, and that's painful enough. But the second lesson is even more unsettling. Imagine walking into a room you never expected and seeing exhibits that shock you. a painting, a company, a mission, a life, a contribution, something extraordinary, and you start thinking, wait, that was available to me? That was all possible? That could have been my life? You never pursued it because you never imagined yourself capable. You played small and made assumptions, essentially accepted a definition of yourself that was too narrow. You never even applied or explored. Not because you couldn't, and that's the billion-dollar detail, but because you didn't believe that you could. And suddenly the museum becomes far more than a collection of missed opportunities. It becomes a collection of stolen identities, versions of yourself that never got introduced to the world, not because they weren't real, but because they were never given permission to emerge. That's what I want this museum to remind you. Not what you've wanted, but rather how little of yourself you've explored. Think about how many rooms remain unopened. Think about how many gifts remain undiscovered and possibilities that are hidden beneath versions of you that are playing it safe. Because I'll reiterate it, the greatest tragedy isn't failing, it's graduating from life without ever meeting that person you could have become. One day we will leave this museum behind. The question is not whether your name will be hanging on the walls. The question is whether those halls will be filled with exhibits or empty with places you turn that possibility into something meaningful. May your life be so fully lived that when you arrive at the Museum of Almost, you walk through its halls as a stranger, because everything that belonged there, you brought into the light. Stand up. I know you're tired. I know things aren't perfect. Maybe far from. I know what's before you seems larger than life. All of that can be true. I'm telling you to stand tall as you push through because you're capable. I'm telling you endure with an exclamation point. I'm telling you that the hellscape before you is an opportunity to make a statement. I have a little anecdote for you. Another one of those examples of fleeting moments acting as doorways to something greater. Is a little piece of code to understanding life in totality. So, a little bit of background. I'm training for a High Rocks event coming up here in Houston. Something a little bit different. It's fun, it's challenging. One of those things that, makes it special is the intensity. You have to really push yourself when you're maxed out, when you're well into zone 5. It asks a lot of you. And so, my trainer adjusted the next 6 weeks of our training to focus on just that type of interval intensity. And the other day we were in the gym doing some of those high intensity lifting circuits. This particular circuit had deadlifts, squat to shoulder press, weighted lunges, and you repeat it 5 times. But here's the kicker, right? Here's the thing. After each of those 5 circuits, he'd put the treadmill to a 10-degree incline, set the speed to 7.5, and you have to run for 2 to 2.5 minutes, which I found out quickly is a special kind of hell when your body feels exhausted like that. First 2 were great, middle 2 sucked. Last one, I felt my soul leave my body on that treadmill, and that's what I want to talk about, right? I say all that because something amidst the chaos happened that I didn't even notice at the time. But we got some footage of the workout, and watching it back after, it brought me to tears. Here's the clip.
16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stand up, buddy. Stand up. Walk that off. Walk that off. Walk that off. Stand up. Walk it off. Stand up. Do not go over. Do not go over. Stand up. Yeah. Take a lap. Take a lap.
So you probably noticed him repeatedly telling me to stand up, right? Over and over. I was maxed out, right? Total body shutdown. And I wanted to, like, my instinct was to lay down or lean on something. Pretty normal. And he's kind of following me. And he's not saying, hey, you're so special, buddy. Or, wow, good for you. That was hard. Which is probably what my ego wanted to hear. But nope. He told me what I needed to hear, which was stand the hell up. This is about more than simply getting through a workout. It's about how you get through it. Compose yourself. Pick your head up. Act like you've been there before. See, we all have these moments. Sure, sometimes in the gym or when we're physically exerting ourselves, but I think most of the time outside the weight room. Because this is life, and life is hard. Life demands a lot of us. It hurts. And this was a reminder that not only are you capable of overcoming, you're strong enough to stand tall in the face of all that's before you. And I know how rare these reminders are. They don't come every day, right? It's almost like the stars have to align. They have to be presented at the perfect time, you know, for it to resonate with you. You have to be willing to hear it. And that was so powerful for me. I wanted to send that your way. Just in case you're in a spot where you're pushing, where you are fighting like hell. And it feels like gravity's forcing you to the ground. I want to be that voice in your ear, the one that tells you, I know this sucks. And I know you have every reason to fall to your knees, but stand up. Because you can. Because you're strong enough to do that. And if you have to give yourself a minute, do it. Take time to sit with it, process it, think and feel. Take that breath and stand tall. Proud of who you are, what you've done, all that you've overcome. See, life is not about running from things, it's about facing them. That day was a powerful reminder that how you face them matters just as much. Do you trust yourself? Are you confident enough in your own 2 feet to carry you through? Are you existing? Or are you putting an exclamation point on the moment? The exclamation point that the moment deserves, that your progress deserves, that you deserve. Because this moment is yours. And no, the goal is not perfection. It can't be. It never will be. The goal is to take the road that few are willing to take, to find gratitude in the suffering to which that journey is necessarily linked. Again, life is hard. The best life has to offer is even harder. But the only thing that trumps all that is the resilience of the human spirit, a willingness to endure, to face what's before you with courage. And so for the final time, I will remind you to find it within yourself to stand up, to lock in, to set free the greatness within you. You might be tired, weak, sad, hurting, operating at 40% capacity, dealing with setbacks, disappointment, loss. My friend, stand up. It's not only what you do, it's who you are.